Welcome to the Purpose-Based Retirement with Certified Financial Planner Casey Weade. Casey is the president of Howard Bailey Financial.
Whatever risk you face during your retirement years, we've got a plan.
A published author and radio host.
It's not how much we make during the good times, it's how much we keep during those really bad times.
His advocacy for retirees and pre-retirees has made him a sought-after speaker and trusted financial leader.
And putting a real plan together.
This is the Purpose-Based Retirement.
Good to see you again. My name is Lee Kelso. I am here with Casey Weade. He is a certified financial planner and the president of Howard Bailey Financial. You know, one of the most effective ways to learn is by looking at mistakes other people have made and then running in the other direction. And that's where we're going to start the program today. Casey's been in business for years and he's met with hundreds and hundreds of clients, and you have seen some really crazy things come through. Now, fixed annuities are a product that sometimes gets a really bad rap, but you've got a case that really does deserve that bad rap.
Oh, absolutely. And you pick out any type of investment vehicle, and I've probably seen a really bad one at some point. And this was a fixed annuity. All of these different examples I'm sharing are all things that I've really seen in real life, and I want to give you this information so that you can make sure you don't make the same mistake for yourself. And this first one is a fixed annuity, and it's not that all fixed annuities are bad in any way. They act a lot like a CD without the FDIC insurance. You're relying on the claims paying ability of the company in order to back up the deposits. But for this individual, they had bought a 9-year fixed annuity in December of 2015. This was a captive individual that sold them this fixed annuity, and they didn't really understand what they were getting when they first bought it in the first place. It was paying them 1.85% as a guaranteed fixed rate, and they said, well, I'm guaranteed 1.85 for the next 9 years. Well, that was true, other than it wasn't a guaranteed fixed rate of 1.85. They actually had a guaranteed minimum interest rate of 1%, and that carrier could drop that rate at will. So next year, they may be only earning 1% for the next 8 or 9 years. And at the same time, in 2015, they could have picked up a 3.5%, maybe even a 3.75% fixed rate that would be absolutely fixed and guaranteed for that term, and no ability for them to ever lower that rate in the future for that 9-year term. So just one of the examples that we're going to share with you here today.
Another one from the annuity file is a variable annuity. What was wrong with this particular case?
Well, this particular variable annuity was very expensive, and the bottom line is the client didn't get what they thought they were getting. They thought they had a 10% guaranteed return on their investment. Well, in this interest rate environment, we know nobody's going to give us 10%, but they thought that was walk-away money. So we had 10% that we could walk away with. There was about $300,000 in that account that had grown to over the last couple of years within that 10% guarantee, but the company would only let them have 4% of that account value every single year for the rest of their lives. So it would take them 25 years to get back their original investment.
Wow.
At 60 years old, that's about their life expectancy. And so in all likelihood, even if they live to be 90 or 95, the effective rate of return that they could have gotten by just taking that investment and putting it into a fixed account only needed to be about 1%, or maybe even 1.5% at the most, in order to match that 10% guarantee that they were getting through that variable annuity. And in addition to that, that's okay if they were paying very low fees and getting invested in the market on the other side of things, right? Well, the non-guaranteed side of that variable annuity was invested in mutual funds, and they were paying 4.1% on an annual basis. What's going to happen to their real money when they turn on the income? They're drawing $12,000 a year, and they also have another over $12,000 a year in annual fees. That's $24,000. That's going to be drawn down by 8% annually, and if we have one bad year in the market, then they're going to be stuck with that guaranteed income for the rest of their life, which really just gives them back their original investment. So know what you're buying. Not all guarantees and income guarantees and annuities and things like this are bad. You just have to make sure you really understand what you're actually getting. Someone that's practicing being a fiduciary on your behalf, someone that's a certified financial planner that's actually going to provide you with some real education so that you can make the best decision. Not just one product fits all, but look at all these different options we have.
So many people use mutual funds as an investment tool, but tell me the story about this managed mutual fund program that you came across.
Yeah, managed mutual funds are pretty prevalent in today's world when someone's looking for a fee-based advisor. So they'll go work, maybe you're looking for a fee-based advisor, you find an advisor that charges maybe only 1% a year, and you say, well, that's a really low fee, I only have to pay them 1% a year, but then what are they doing with those dollars? In this circumstance, they were then taking those dollars and investing them into mutual funds. Now, those mutual funds were actively managed. They were paying almost 2% on an annual basis in internal costs within those mutual funds, bringing the client's overall cost to over 3% on an annual basis. If you're going to pay an advisory fee, if you're going to work with a fee-based advisor who is going to charge you a percentage of assets that they manage every single year, make sure they're not turning around and investing those dollars into mutual funds. They should be individual stocks, individual bonds, or low-cost index funds like ETFs or exchange-traded funds.
So another hit on mutual funds, I shouldn't put it that way, but another point to be concerned about is understanding the type of mutual funds. A shares have a high load.
Sure, an upfront load. So this was an instance of a couple that came into my office. They were from just about an hour away, and they came into Fort Wayne to meet with us as they were unsure that they were receiving the best advice because their advisor moved them into some A-share mutual funds back in 2007. He moved about $600,000 into A-share mutual funds. They paid an upfront load that averaged around 4%. So they paid $24,000 right off the top. So their $600,000 did not start at $600,000 when it got invested. It started at $576,000 once it was actually invested into the market. Then every single year that advisor would take a small portion, $50,000 or $100,000 out of those A-share mutual funds and move them into some type of annuity, a fixed annuity, 1 year, a variable annuity the next year, and earn another commission on that transfer from one product to the next and extend the period of time they have to keep those funds there. Now that is really the definition of churning the account, other than what was the loophole that the advisor got here. The loophole was he was moving it out of the market into other investments, alternative investments that didn't act like a mutual fund. If that advisor had been moving it mutual fund A-share to mutual fund A-share, he would have gotten caught immediately. But instead, by moving it from mutual fund to annuity, he was able to get around the rules.
That's a whole lot of boat payments that advisor generated, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So while we're on the role of mutual funds, let's talk about the advisory fee that you've already paid a load on. So this kind of goes back to that whole A-share thing.
Sure. I mean, this is something that is happening a lot right now with this new DOL fiduciary rule that's being passed in April. It's already been passed, but it's going to go into effect in April. What I've seen over the past couple of months is advisors coming in saying we need to move this IRA into our managed portfolio. So we're going to start charging you an annual fee of 1% or 1.5% a year to manage this portfolio. And you've already paid an A-share load when you put those funds in there. I had a client that I saw that had paid an upfront load in some of these mutual funds, and these were small deposits to various accounts they had made over the years, and then that advisor had taken those mutual funds several years later and then moved them into a managed account that they called managed. They were paying a management fee of 1.5% to 2%. It varied depending on the account, but they were paying 1.5% to 2% on funds that weren't actually being traded or managed whatsoever. And that's a huge no-no in our industry. If there's no trading going on, what's the value that that advisor is really providing to you for the fee that's being paid? There better be some management going on. I want to know my guy's working for me, right?
Absolutely. We have a lot more that we hope you'll be able to learn from, mistakes that Casey has seen over the years. We'll get to those in just a minute. First, give you an invitation to be one of the next 10 people who pick up the phone and call us right now. We're offering you a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan. It's an opportunity for you to learn about your money, what it's doing and maybe what it's not doing, because we want you to make the best decision possible as you move forward. So for the next 10 callers, Casey and the team will make time on the calendar, sit down, visit with you, and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. We'll have some more painful lessons that you can learn from without the pain when we come back.
When you have confidence in your retirement future, you can live the life you've always imagined. Because of planning, you now have time to reflect on the wonderful memories of your life. You and your spouse finally have the luxury of leisure time together. To spend fun times with your grandkids, sharing the joy of their excitement about life. Smiling at the thought of quality time with your children and of picking up the check. At last, you have time to breathe and rekindle the love of your life. Why? Because you imagined what could be. You planned for retirement. So today, you own your future.
You need a plan for retirement to create the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. The first step is to tune into the Purpose-Based Retirement Radio Hour with your hosts, Casey Weade and Marshall Johnson, every Saturday morning at 11 and Sunday afternoon at 1 on 1190 WOWO and 107.5 FM.
Welcome back. We started the program today with examples that we hope you could learn from some clients who've had really just bad financial advice. But now we're going to shift a little bit into mistakes that were made because clients didn't have any advice. They kind of just acted without professional guidance. And one of them was a client who made some traditional IRA contributions and missed out on a real tax opportunity.
Right. Well, they were making traditional IRA contributions year after year, and they were in the 15% tax bracket. So their annual income was about $60,000 a year. And you can have up to about $85,000. Then once you back out your tax deductions, that takes you to about the top of the 15% tax bracket. And if you're in the 15% tax bracket today, you should be paying your taxes and moving it into a Roth IRA so it can grow tax-free, so that once you step into retirement, you can have a tax-free retirement. It's not just about the taxes you're going to be paying on that IRA at some point in the future. It's also about the taxes you may have to pay on other income, such as your Social Security benefits. For this couple, they had been making contributions every year to their IRA in the 15% bracket, and now they're in retirement. They're still going to be in the 15% bracket, but everything's been tied up in those tax-deferred options, those tax-deferred IRAs, or 401ks for that matter. And now if they want to go get $100,000 to go move to get a place in Florida or get a down payment for a lake property and really enjoy the retirement, now they don't have that option anymore because there's really no flexibility without a huge tax hit. So that's just one of those things that you have to take advantage of. If you have a 401k at work, get a Roth 401k. If you have an IRA, make a Roth IRA contribution. Even if you have a 401k at work, you may still be able to make a Roth IRA contribution. Make sure that you're diversifying your tax buckets to open yourself up to not just tax savings, but flexibility when you get to retirement, so you can wake up knowing if you need those funds, you know that they're there and they're not going to cause a big tax burden.
You know, there is no shortage of people who are holding very highly appreciated stocks in their portfolios, especially here in town. There's some folks who work for the military contractors who've really done very well over the years. What kind of a risk have you seen? What kind of mistakes have they made because they didn't get good advice?
Well, one of those things in after-tax accounts, for instance, where I've seen a lack of advice is I had a gentleman that had a large portion of defense contractor stock, which I see that a lot, and this individual was now stepping into retirement, had held this stock for a number of years, and now wanted to know, how do I generate income from this stock and not pay a whole lot of taxes? And there was a lot of this stock, mind you. And so while we sell it, we may be able to only pay long-term capital gains tax at 15%, but had he been selling this every single year over time, we've had a 0% tax rate on long-term capital gains in the 15% tax bracket for quite a number of years. And so this has been a huge opportunity, and you still have it to this day, to generate long-term capital gains. Could have been selling those things every single year, moving over to someplace tax-free so they could be used for a tax-free retirement income at some point in the future. But now a lot of that flexibility has been lost.
You know, many people might have an old life insurance policy hanging around. What kind of an opportunity have you seen where there was some steps missed in that regard?
Well, when it comes to old life insurance policies, one of the things you have to recognize is the cost of insurance has dropped dramatically over the last few decades because people are living longer and longer lives. Those mortality tables are being reduced. The longer people are going to be paying premiums, the cheaper insurance is. And there's also other benefits that are available that may not be available when you originally purchased that old life insurance policy. And what's the real use of those funds in the first place? At a couple that I worked with that had a $50,000 cash value policy and $150,000 in the way of death benefit. So what is their death benefit? You have to ask yourself, what is my real death benefit? Well, $50,000 of those funds are your dollars. In this case, they were that client's original investment, or the cash that they've put in it over the years, and the death benefit's really only $100,000. The difference between their dollars and what the company actually has to pay out ultimately, that's what the death benefit is. What we were able to do was move that to another company and pick up a $300,000 death benefit instead of $150,000, and now their heirs would get $300,000 instead of $150,000. Their $50,000 wasn't just lost money, and if they needed long-term care benefits, they could also use that death benefit while they were living for home health care, assisted living, and nursing home care at the same time.
Yeah, so as the markets have changed and as the world has changed, and you're doing what you've always done, that's a tremendous opportunity for error.
There's a lot of benefits that can be made out of a short conversation with someone that really knows the right answers and all the things that are available in the world of finance. And that's what we do. Another thing that's available to those individuals that have highly appreciated stock, not just stock that's outside their 401k, for instance, it's those that have it inside of their 401k that have the real opportunity, right? Because inside of your 401k, if you roll those funds over to an IRA, which is what most individuals do. They'll take that 401k and they'll just roll that stock right over to an IRA. If you do that, now every dollar is going to that comes out of that IRA is going to be taxed at your highest marginal tax bracket. Now, for instance, what we could do, let's take someone that had $100,000 worth of Raytheon stock in their portfolio and a $30,000 cost basis. What we were able to do was roll that 401k, that stock out to a brokerage account, pay taxes on the $30,000. This is someone that really believed in their company and didn't want to sell that stock. Now we're going to be able to pass on that stock tax-free rather than tax-deferred, because the beneficiaries will get a step up in basis. We only had to pay 15% in taxes on the $30,000 cost basis. And we can also, even if we wanted to sell it, liquidate a little bit each year, maintain the 15% bracket, and may not even pay any taxes for you while you're in your retirement. So there's a lot of different opportunities here when it comes to appreciated stock as you step into retirement or as you step into the end of the tax year.
So appreciated stock, old insurance policies, those are red flags, things to be paying attention to. Looking back over time, can you think of a circumstance that you think has been the most painful for a client, a mistake that they either made by not having good advice or having no advice at all and just having been a do-it-yourselfer?
The one that often comes to mind is a gentleman that I met. This was probably 5-6 years ago when we got together, and he had retired early. And when he retired early, he met with an advisor that had him roll his 401k over to an IRA. And rolling that 401k over to an IRA, he said, now, you'd retired early. I think he was 57 years old at the time, and every distribution that he was now going to take out of that IRA, he said, you're just going to have to accept that not only you're going to have to pay taxes, but you're going to have to pay a 10% penalty tax at the same time. There are two main ways that that could have been changed. Now, this is an example of bad financial advice, right? That individual could have left a good portion, whatever income he needed from the age of 57 to 60 or 57 to 59 and a half in the 401k and avoided any of those 10% penalties that were paid along the way. But instead, he rolled it to an IRA and paid a 10% penalty tax on every single distribution. We also could have done something called a 72T and avoid any of those potential penalties at the same time. There's a lot of different examples of this. For instance, another one that often comes to mind is a gentleman that owned two separate businesses, and I see this with individuals that maybe own their business and then own their real estate. They have a rental company, then they also own the main entity. The main entity may have a 401k retirement plan. We can also be making SEP contributions, and for this gentleman that I'm thinking about, the business could have been saving about $10,000 a year in additional taxes over their lifetime, which would have been about 30 years. That's about $300,000 in tax savings that they completely missed out on because they just didn't meet with the right CPA or the right certified financial planner that could direct them in the right way.
So I hope the takeaway for you here is there is the opportunity to get bad advice or with no advice make bad decisions. So that's why I hope you'll be one of the next 10 people to pick up the phone right now and call 482-9559. For the next 10 folks who call us right now, we're offering a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan. It's an opportunity to give you an education about your money so you don't make some of these, I'll call them silly mistakes that others have made. So for the next 10 callers, Casey and the team, willing to make some time on the calendar, sit down, visit with you, and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. Here's our question of the day. What was the first year that there was a cost of living adjustment for Social Security recipients? How far back did that go? Was it fairly recently, 1975, or all the way back to 1935? The answer is coming up.
You may have a purpose for your retirement, but have you repurposed your assets to help you achieve your dreams?
At Howard Bailey Financial, we believe in the purpose-based retirement. We help you determine a clear plan of action to get you to your goal. We can help you review all of the variables, find and understand your options, and help you come up with a strategy that gets you closer to your purpose. Let Howard Bailey help you achieve the retirement you deserve.
You need a plan for retirement to create the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. The first step is to tune into the Purpose-Based Retirement Radio Hour with your hosts, Casey Weade and Marshall Johnson, every Saturday morning at 11 and Sunday afternoon at 1 on 1190 WOWO and 107.5 FM.
For most people, Social Security is the bedrock of their retirement finances, and so we wanted to know about the cost of living. When was the cost of living adjustment for Social Security beneficiaries added to the plan? What was the first year for that, Casey?
Believe it or not, the first year was 1975. Social Security was put in effect in 1935, signed into law, and 1940 was the first payment. 1965 was when Medicare was passed into law. So prior to 1975, adjustments to Social Security benefits were purely made through legislation. From that point forward, it was based on something called the Consumer Price Index called CPI-W. Now, Social Security is a very important aspect of your retirement, and you've maybe been a little frustrated over the last couple of years. In 2016, Social Security beneficiaries received no cost of living adjustment, and in 2017, it was just 0.3%. But that's just one small part, or I should say medium-sized part of your retirement plan. It not only includes your income strategy with your Social Security and pension benefits, but also your investment strategy to produce that income, your inflation strategy, your tax strategy, your estate strategy, your emergency strategy. All these things have to come together in order to provide you with the peace of mind that you're hoping for every morning that you wake up and do the things you want to do during your retirement years. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to walk you through a case study of someone that we worked with here recently that had a situation that you may be able to relate to. At least take one piece of this plan so that you can see the types of plans that we put together on a daily basis inside of our office. This case study is based on a 57-year-old single female that's planning on retiring relatively immediately in the next few months. She had an IRA valued at $150,000 and a non-IRA, meaning after-tax funds, of $600,000. Now, why? This is very unusual that we see this much in after-tax funds versus a lot of dollars in pre-tax or tax-deferred 401k dollars. Well, this individual was extremely risk-averse, so she didn't want to have anything in the market. So she just put enough in her 401k to get the little bit of a match that her employer provided. That's where the IRA funds came from. Everything else went to after-tax funds because she wanted to get a higher fixed interest rate than her mutual funds could offer her inside of her 401k. So she had a lot of bank CDs, paying about 2% on an annual basis, and that was getting very frustrating for her. Not only did she want to have a plan, but she also wanted to earn a higher rate of return because she needed to generate some income. She was retiring at 57, so we were pretty far away from turning on those Social Security benefits. We needed to satisfy a $45,000 annual income from age 57 through 61, and then we turn on Social Security, we needed about $20,000 on an annual basis. So how did we do that? First, we solved the income piece, that being the most important of your incomes. Your retirement strategy is your income strategy. We set aside $300,000 to satisfy her income for the next 10 years, guaranteed at $45,000 for the first 5 years, $20,000 from years 6 through 9, and then $3,000 in increasing a little bit each year for cost of living throughout the rest of her life. We set aside her IRA and didn't want to touch that for 10 years, allowing it to create a guaranteed lifetime income after 10 years of $17,000 a year, bringing her back up to that $20,000 a year that she needed as a lifetime income. We just needed a little extra income over the first 5 years of retirement. But what about taxes? We implemented a tax strategy with that IRA because with that, her tax brackets, being a single individual, her 15% tax bracket goes up to about $37,650 before we get into the 25% bracket. Add in her standard deduction, personal exemption, we could create $48,000 in annual income and maintain a 15% bracket, which is what she was going to be in today, as well as 10 or 15 years from now. Now that we're able to convert that whole $150,000 to tax-free, she has a tax-free retirement income and will also never pay taxes on her Social Security ever again. So that's how we were able to implement the tax strategy and the income strategy. We were left with $300,000 in after-tax money. We wanted to make sure that that remained tax deferred so we didn't have to get a 1099 every year, which would throw off our Roth conversions that we were doing. We kept that $300,000 in an account that was totally liquid in case she needed it for emergencies. If the market went down, she would not lose anything. If it went up, she could make as much as 10%, probably averaging 4 to 5% a year and not having to pay taxes, not just today, but ultimately probably never, because she most likely will never need those dollars. There was a $600,000 death benefit attached to that account she can also use for long-term care while she was living, completely tax-free. So in all likelihood, the funds that we set over here to be safe, earn a higher rate of return than her CDs, would also pass on tax-free, and she wouldn't have to pay taxes today. So we created a guaranteed lifetime income, a tax-free retirement income, and long-term care benefits without having to pay an annual premium.
That is far more complex than I'm going to be able to figure out on my own. Did you feel that way as well? If you did, then I hope you'll pick up the phone and be one of the next 10 callers who'll dial 482-9559 and get on the list to receive a complimentary financial review of your entire financial and retirement plan. It's an opportunity to give you an education about your money so you can make the very best decisions possible for you, your family, and your descendants going forward. So for the next 10 callers, Casey and the team will make time on their calendar to visit with you and give you your very own purpose-based retirement. You can learn more about Howard Bailey and all of its staff at howardbailey.com. You can also write to Casey anytime you like at info@howardbailey.com. We occasionally pull questions from those who send them to us over the internet and bring them to the television show so that we can answer your questions right here live on the air. And a new version of Casey's book is available online as well. It's called The 2017 Guide to Retirement Efficiency for the Purpose-Based Retirement. You can pre-order at howardbailey.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week at this time. You take good care of yourself.